Assalamualaikum and thank you very much, Yang Berhormat, Tun Dr Mahathir, for agreeing to this session today. I am Helmi, a current global online MBA student of Imperial College London, and I'm currently working for Qatar Gas based in Doha, Qatar. The reason for this interview is for an assignment of mine, which is to interview a leader. I chose you, Tun Dr Mahathir, for you have done a lot of contribution for Malaysia, including the modernization of the country and the growth of Malaysia in oil and gas industry that I am in. Before I begin, I would like to seek your permission if I could record this interview.
Yes, you are welcome. You can record.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahdi. First and foremost, I must say that even in Doha, where I'm based right now, when people ask me where I'm from, your name is one of the first things that comes into their mind about Malaysia for being such a great leader of the nation for so many years. Going back to even before you started your career journey, do you ever look back and view yourself as always have been a leader?
I was somehow accepted even in school as a leader. Of course, I initiate certain things, and when you initiate anything, you naturally becomes the leader of that whatever it is that you plan to do. So when I was a student, I decided that we should go campaign against the British proposal to create a Malayan Union. So I gathered a few students, and from then on, of course, we also included people outside the school, and we carried out a campaign against the Malayan Union. They accepted me as a leader.
Okay. So, but what is it that motivates you to become a great and successful leader? Or what is it that keeps you awake at night?
No, I didn't plan to become a great, successful leader. There are certain things that needs to be done. I had some idea, and I find that a number of people were willing to go along with me. Mm-hmm. We formed a group, and we wanted what little problem we have at that time. Now, the problem when the British came back, before we became independent, was that the British wanted to colonize the country. Now, before this, we were not colonies of the British. We had invited the British to advise us on administration. Correct. But as British, when you give them that opportunity, they practically colonized us. They took over the whole government. But now what they want to do is they want to take possession of the whole country, all the Malay states. Mm-hmm. This, of course, aroused many Malays. They feel that we don't want to be a colony of the British. So I was, at that time, I was a student, and I began to take an interest, and I began to think about what we can do. No thinking about becoming a great leader or anything like that. Because in those days, you don't even think of becoming independent. So all I wanted to do was to fight against the Malayan Union along with other people.
So I would say that you are born with it then. There's no doubt that in your position, you face challenges on a daily basis. If you could name at least one, what are your biggest challenge and your opportunity that you have faced in your careers today?
The most important thing is to try and convince people that there is a cause to fight. Yeah. You see, they don't think much about it, but I had to explain to them, when we were against the Malayan Union, why are we against the Malayan Union? I had to explain that to them before they would join me. So that is the biggest hurdle, because they did not worry about this thing. Some of them felt, oh, it's okay if the British were to take over. We were under the British anyway. But I had to explain to them that if we became a colony, what happens to us, Malays in particular? Then that is the difficult part, to win over support. Now, I have to win over support of people who are not very well educated, people living in the villages.
Mhm.
They didn't see anything beyond the village. Not to explain to them that this is important to you, that this will affect you. You may think that this is happening elsewhere, but it will affect you. So these are difficult things to overcome, to win over support for whatever it is that you are struggling for.
Mhm. Quite true. Yep. But having said that, right, when we talk about leadership evolution, things have changed over the past many years. How has your perception of leadership changed or developed over time?
Yeah, there is a lot of change, no doubt.
Yeah.
When I started, we were a part of the British Empire.
Yeah.
And in those days, we don't indulge in politics. Politics was not for the ordinary people. Politics was only for the elites at the top, the Raja Raja and all that. So we need to understand how to fight, because the rulers not being supported by the people, they were very weak
Mm.
to the point where they signed off their own state, giving it to the British. So we need to counter that. So when we need to counter that, nobody paid us anything. We did it on our own, because being in politics doesn't earn you anything.
Yeah.
At that time, of course, you are on your own. You don't become a member of parliament or member of state council, where at least you get some allowance and things like that. And so we succeeded. We succeeded until we became independent. Now, once we become independent, then the democratic process of elections will have to be faced by us. Initially, people were fighting because of the race, the country, the goodness of the country, and all that, independence, etc. But once you became independent, the race turned from uh, the development of the country to what the leaders get. Because some of the leaders get promoted to even becoming the prime minister.
Mm.
Very high post, lots of pay, titles, and many perks and all that. So now the focus is not on developing the country. The focus is on becoming the prime minister.
Mm.
Was led to the decline of moral values.
Mm.
People began to think that politics will give them a chance to become rich. And then they started using methods which are not morally not right, like giving money to people, etc. So today's politician in Malaysia, they do not think about the development of Malaysia. They think only about becoming prime minister, becoming a minister, becoming a representative of the people, getting money, getting titles, etc. So their focus has gone away from the original struggle. So that is the difference. The original leaders were for the nation to become independent, to avoid becoming a British colony under the Malay Union.
Mhm.
But now the question is, what do I get? I go into politics, what do I get? So the quality of leadership has changed.
I would say that will be quite a challenge to change that kind of mindset to become to have the right objectives in the first place. How important is your own self-awareness to the development of your leadership style?
No, I was fortunate in many ways. Uh, I don't know why, but certain turns of events, including the the death of some leaders, So suddenly I became quite high in the hierarchy. And that stage, there was, it gives me an opportunity to hold certain posts.
Yeah.
So I first contested as a member of parliament. I won. And then in my own party, there was vacancy, and I contested to become vice president of the party. First I lost, then I won. And then from then on, I had to move up again because of the death of the Prime Minister. I moved up to deputy president of the party. And deputy president, normally, if the president, who is the Prime Minister, retires, the deputy takes over. That's how I became Prime Minister. No planning there, because I can't plan the death of so many people.
Yeah, it just happened so. But you truly are a great leader, to be honest. For the next question, I'm going to be a bit more technical, based on what I learned in my MBA for the model of leadership. So there are basically 4 leadership habits that contributes to effectiveness of leadership. The first habit is on sharing vision, which means that you first set a clear and shared vision of what success is for your cabinet or political party, for example. Secondly, is on sparking engagement. When you have the vision in place, you empower, inspire, and develop people within your organization. Thirdly, is on skillfully executing. When you have the vision in place, you spark the engagement with the people, you will then set stretch performance targets or expectations. You review those progress and you hold certain people accountable to ensure successful delivery of planned outcomes. And the last is on sustaining the progress. When you have all of this ready, you will have to recognize the achievement to ensure continuous improvement. For example, you probably have to set a certain rewards or appraisals in place to ensure continuity of success. So those are the 4 habits: sharing vision, sparking engagement with the people, skillfully executing by setting stretch targets, and sustaining progress. Perhaps you can share your own experience on this and what are the key learnings from there.
In the first place, even as a young man, even as a boy, I noticed the development of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Our country is a multiracial country,
Correct.
and I find that the Malays, my people, are very poor.
Mm-hmm.
They are badly, they don't get good education. They are very poor, they are peasants, they grow rice, but they cannot compete with the other communities.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was wrong. I thought that they should be as well off as the other communities.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I wanted to do, to
Mm-hmm.
how to improve this my own people. That makes me interested in politics, because politics would enable me to have the power or the influence to change the situation.
Yeah.
So I went to politics, and of course, eventually I became Prime Minister. As Prime Minister, now I had the power. The power to do what? Well, to improve the well-being of these people who are poor, who are miserable. So I then plan how to improve on their performance. For example, when I finished school, I was waiting to go to the university.
Mm-hmm.
In those, they had only 7 scholarships. I was lucky to get one of those scholarships. Was lucky. But there are lots of other people who are equally qualified or better qualified than me, but did not have the opportunity to have an education. So when I had the power,
Mm-hmm.
I created more scholarships, thousands of them, so that more people can have access to good education and therefore have a better standard of living. That is one thing. But then we need to see the difference between town and country. Usually the rural areas are poorly provided. They have no water supply, no electricity, no roads, things like that. So when you have political power, You are in the government. You are the Prime Minister. You can do something for them. We can improve their living standards and all that. So, but to do this requires money in the first place. The government must have the money. To have the money, we have to make the country prosperous. Wealth must be created for the government to have money. Government depends upon taxes. But how can you tax if people don't have money? So people must have money. So we develop industries. We invite foreigners to start industries, and from those industries, people begin get jobs, they earn money, and eventually, of course, the companies pay taxes to the government so that the money can be used in order to carry out the work of developing the country. But again, you need to have people to do the work. So you need to train them, you need to provide for them, you need to explain to them why they are doing this. So this is the whole process of leadership involve objectives and how to obtain uh, to do things to achieve the objective that you set out for yourself. This means I need to have political support. I need to have the administration to able to do all these things. I need the money. I need people. All these things are the work of government. And being Prime Minister, of course, I have a lot of influence on how the government functions.
It must be hard to actually get them to have the same vision as what you did. But what would you think you would recommend to encourage them to be developed? I mean, in terms of sustainability, because getting them to do something as what you envision is one thing, but getting them to continue with it is another thing. So, what are the challenges you face around there?
Well, we are practicing democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And in democracy, of course, you have the government and you have the opposition.
Yes.
The opposition will always be taking pot shots at you, criticizing you, condemning you, and all that. So that is an obstruction. We need to be able to deal with them. And sometimes the government itself, after I step down, we have a new government.
Yeah.
They were not focused on developing the country. They were more interested in their own well-being. There comes a time when I have a need to go against them, to change the government. Yeah. So all these things involve explaining to people to get the support of the people so that when something goes wrong, we can correct the wrong things. But if you don't have the ability to win the support of the people, if the government goes bad, the government will stay there. So you have now, you're no longer in the government, you're outside the government, you see? And you have to watch the government as it's doing certain things. And if you find that they are doing the wrong things, you have to work out how to change the government. And that becomes a very big problem because the opposition had tried to change the government for over 60 years. Yeah. They have had 13 elections. They couldn't change the government. Yeah. But because the government was doing the right thing. But when the government went wrong, they also tried. But people have become so entrenched that it's difficult to move them. So you have to understand the situation, the strength that you have, your own weakness, the strength of the government. And when you know all this, you may be able to plan a way to change the government.
With all those many years of leadership, what is your number one tip to become a successful leader such as yourself?
Number one,
The number one tip that you can give. Tip.
thief.
Yeah.
Well, one must be dedicated. One must believe in your struggle.
Mm-hmm.
One be able to spend time and effort and money, whatever you have, in order to achieve this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do something, you have to work very hard. You have to face opposition. You have to face the problem of shortage of funds and not enough assets and all that. All these things needs a good leader. A good leader who can see overall. If it is only one thing, this tunnel vision, he can solve that thing, but the others cannot be solved. But a leader must have a full view of the problem ahead of him, the strengths that he may have, his own weaknesses, and the weaknesses of those who are against him.
Okay. Can you name me a person that had tremendous impact to you as a leader? Maybe someone who has been a mentor to you. Why and how did this person impact your life?
In this life. Now,
Yeah.
people I know, well, there are many, but well, you don't take all of his quality. Certain of one of the men I admired very much was Nelson Mandela,
Mhm.
and the other man is the South African leader at that time. I forgot his name. You see, these people, they want to change things.
Mhm.
Tell the people, I want to change. Because if you tell them too early, you will be blocked.
Yeah.
So you have to wait until you are in a position of authority before introducing the change. Because the change is very radical and people might not want it. Another person that I noticed was very successful was the Russian leader Gorbachev.
Oh, okay.
Gorbachev, he wanted to change the communist because he felt that the communist system was not working.
Mhm.
But if at the early stage he were to tell the people, I want to go against communism, he will be brushed off. He will never get into a position. He didn't tell about this. He waited until he became secretary to the party, and because he became a leader, at that stage when he had the power, he told them, you need to change. He introduced perestroika and all that. He says because the communist system will impoverish people. So, and he was successful, of course.
Mhm.
The leader from history is Peter the Great of Russia. Russia was a very backward nation. He decided to westernize Russia.
Mhm.
So he forced the thing through because he was the Tsar, he had the power, he forced them to change so that they became like the Western Europeans. And another leader which has always been an inspiration for me is the Prophet of Islam, Nabi Muhammad.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know why I admire him. Yes, he brings religion and all that. That is one thing
Mhm.
that we uh, grateful for.
Yeah.
But one thing that he did was to change people
Yes.
from Jahiliyyah, the ignorant Arabs. He changed them because they were tribal people. They were fighting each other. So he brought Islam to them and he told them, you are now brothers. And they became They became united and became so strong that they created the Islamic civilization. This ignorant Arab, once they converted, they were able. So this man, this prophet, was a great man. Apart from bringing us the religion, he was a great leader. He was able to make ignorant people into the greatest of the greatest civilization in the world. So all these people inspire me.
What is the one mistake you witness leaders making more frequently than others?
Mistake.
Yes.
Yeah, when you are in power, if the power is absolute, you tend to abuse it. Because nobody can say no to you. So you have to hold yourself back. Don't do what is wrong. You may have the power, but don't abuse your power. So that I see happen, especially in authoritarian country, in an absolute monarchy or an absolute dictatorship. Then you then abuse your power by doing things which you know is wrong, but because you have the power, you do it. And then, of course, eventually people overthrow you. So that's the weakness. Even in Malaysia, we see this when we have a prime minister who is very powerful. He was doing all kinds of wrong things because nobody tells him no.
Yeah.
That's the problem of dictators or absolute rulers. But if you have a democratic system, the democratic system allows you to overthrow a bad leader through just election. Of course, sometimes they do that through street demonstration, through strikes. This is what you saw when they brought down Mubarak, when they brought Tafi and all that, because these are absolute rulers. They abuse their power. They were, they jailed people and all that. So they had to be overthrown, but the only way to overthrow them is to have mass demonstration of people's power. I remember what happened to Marcos. He was overthrown due to people's power.
Okay. At the moment, I'm sure you are quite reading a lot of things as well. So, what are the few resources you would recommend to someone looking to gain insight into becoming a better leader?
Well, there are many books on different leaders. And I think reading the biography or the autobiography of leaders is very important. But reading on certain leaders written by other people, by observers, that is also very important. Then you where they make their mistakes and why they were overthrown or why they succeed. And see, among the things that you have to learn is that you must know your history. There is that those who forget the lessons of history are condemned to repeat their mistakes over and over again. I always hold that belief that when you look back, you see some things that you have done which is wrong, don't repeat it. And see, even though you may have the power to repeat, but don't. So that is very important. In order to become a good leader, you can read about successful leaders. In the history world, there are many successful leaders who changed their country.
If you could start your career all over again, just wondering, is there anything you would do differently?
I look back, not many things that I would do differently. I have read some of those articles about me in the past. I'm very consistent.
Yeah.
do something, I'm very consistent, and I keep on repeating them because I think they were good examples.
Mm-hmm.
What is bad? I try to figure out. There must be some bad things that I have done, but there are not too many of them.
That's good. That's good to hear. Tun Dr Mahathir, I do hope that one day we can meet each other face to face to tell you how much I am inspired by you. I just have one more question to ask. Would it be okay for me to share this video in my own personal blog or social network as well? Do you mind?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Right. Thank
Most of the things I tell you, I think I have already written about them.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Well, when I was a kid, I always looked forward to the Vision 2020 that you have highlighted, especially in terms of IT. And thanks to that, that is where I am today. That was what gets me here. What I did not expect is that in this year, 2020, I'm speaking to you in this session. It's such an honor to have you here. And once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.